Have you ever been looking at a house online and you just go, what the hell are they thinking? Is that wallpaper on the roof? Are those Greek columns in the living room? Is that a farmhouse style? What is this, early 2000s? And what is that in the bedroom? Is that appropriate for children? It is truly insane what people think their houses are worth for. So today we're gonna actually look up and try to find some overpriced listings for sale right now, help you find out how to identify an overpriced listing, what to do when we find one, and just talk a little bit more behind the strategy of trying to get one for cheap or cheaper value. Let's talk about why this happens first. So this is called the endowment effect. Essentially, the endowment effect is when one person has an altered perception of what they have and they think it's worth a lot more than it actually is, only because they own it. Here's a wonderful illustration that I found online that's so simple but yet so beautiful. Something that's not theirs, $2, but if it's theirs, it's worth $6. And here's a little sticker going, oh my God, I've never seen anything so beautiful. Nothing plagues this more than real estate. Like, real estate is filled with these kind of examples because, I mean, I get it. It's your house. You have wonderful memories there. Your baby's pooped on the floor. Your dog peed everywhere. There's wonderful memories made in every single room. But for some reason, when sellers put their house on the market, they cannot separate the wonderful memories versus actual value of what the houses are freaking worth. I recommend this great article on the endowment effect and how to avoid it. It's going to link it in the description below. It's a Decision Labs article. Just wonderful, wonderful article. I really recommend it. Talks about different theories and why it goes behind it. Loss aversion. Essentially, the sellers think they're gonna, miss out on potential gains, so that's why they overprice it. Or more importantly, I think it's just there's two sides of each transaction and both are desperately trying to not get screwed, and they kind of overcompensate. The buyer will underbid, the seller will overbid to try to not get screwed, right? Everybody wants to win. But anyways, I'll leave that up to the article. Let's see if we can find it. Now, first, let's define what it means for a listing to be overpriced. In any market, I don't care what's going on in the market, the housing market or whatever, there's three things that need to happen for a house to successfully sell. It needs to be marketed correctly. It needs to be priced correctly. And of course, there needs to be a demand for it. If these three things are met, you're gonna have an absolute good time selling a house. You're gonna have not only one person making an offer, but you create this perfect thing of multiple offer situations, and you'll probably sell the house for more than it's worth if you do that. Now, if only one of those things are off, then that house isn't selling. For example, if the house is priced correctly and it has great demand, well, that won't affect it too bad. But the reality is you're not going to be able to sell it as quickly and efficiently as you think. It's not marketed correctly. The photos are butt ugly. If you ever find a situation like this, it's perfect because you as the buyer, you're not competing as much people, but you found a really good house. You're probably going to get it for cheaper. And the seller could have probably got a multiple offer situation if they had marketed it correctly with the photos and all that good stuff. If you have the perfect price and the perfect marketing, but there's no actual demand, meaning like you're in the middle of nowhere, like out in the desert, like you have this beautiful house that's amazing, but it's like an hour away from the nearest grocery store, then demand's going to be a little rough and you're going to have a hard time selling it. And what we're talking about today, of course, if there's a house that's marketed correctly and there's demand for it, but the price is not well, it won't sell. Why doesn't it sell? Well, a lot of sellers have the perception that, well, if it's just put it out in the market, we'll get offers. We'll get people that go in and make lowball offers and we'll work with them. But the reality is, the longer it sits on the market, the more plague it gets. It's like if you get a beautiful piece of like a metal or something, I don't know, let's say it's a, cool dagger or whatever. You put it out in the sun, throw it out in the dirt, right? If someone immediately, like a day or two after it gets thrown out, it's shiny. Someone will pick it up and see, oh, this is nice, and people will notice it. But the longer it sits out there, the more rusty it gets, the more it loses its shine. And even though there's nothing wrong with the dagger, or it can be like spiffed up pretty nicely with just a little bit of polishing and cleaning, the perception of it is there's something wrong with it the longer it sits out there and it collects rust, collects the dirtiness factor. And that's the same thing with housing. The longer your listing sits on the market, the more perception there is that there's something wrong with it. So if it's not priced accordingly, accordingly right away and it doesn't attract the right audience right away, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And that is what we're going to find out today. Let's see if we can find some houses that were not listed correctly. The best way I have found to look up houses like this, and this, you can do this with any software. I'm using an MLS software right now, so it's maybe a little easier for me to do this, but you can do this on like Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever. You want to look by days on market. Let's just pick out a random city here. I am based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, so let's just pick Gilbert. Gilbert tends to be one of those really hot cities. I think it's one of the top 10 cities, safest cities in America or something like that in a recent video I did. So it's a really good city. So you would think like everything sells here quickly, right? Because it's in a high in demand area. Well, here's the thing. We can look at this, all these houses for sale. Let's sort them by days on market. And instead of doing ascending, let's do descending. So we start off with the ones that have been on the market the longest. Now I'm seeing a lot of like $1 million ones. So let's just go to something a little more manageable, like under 600,000. Now here we go. We see some, we're focusing specifically here on this number here. Here's some that's been on the market for 288 days, 241 days, 126 days. Let's see what we can dig up. So here, this one's been on the market for 111 days. Let's find out why. So it looks like originally it was listed for $533. They've only reduced it by $10,000 to $522, and it has not sold it. Now, marketing wise, it is not the best looking house. I mean, it looks like the guy took the pictures with his cell phone. I mean, realtors, we get paid a good amount of money. Like, the least we could do is get a photographer out there to take some photos. I mean, come on, dude. A house isn't too bad, I guess. But what is this house actually worth? Well, first of all, we've identified that it's been on the market for 111 days. It hasn't sold. There has to be something, right? Usually your gut's right about this stuff. Well, here's what we can do. Let's get the address. Let's go and let's find the comparables of what has sold around the area. The best thing we can do is we can find model matches. Now, I don't care. Like, people say, well, I don't have the MLS. I can't do this. No. I have a client of mine that only has Zillow, and we've been pulling up comps on houses lately, and we're pulling up the same exact comp. So literally go through Zillow. You can look on, like, you can look through solds and get an idea of model matches. We're trying to find houses that are very similar. So this house in question has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,058 square feet. We can look and just get a good range. Like I usually do like 100 to 200 square feet difference to kind of get a feel for what's been selling. And we can see here the most expensive house that sold within a half-mile radius that's similar square footage to it is $500,000. So this house is approximately overpriced by $22,000. Now this one that sold for $500K was originally listed at $495 and it sold for $500K. So it sold right away and it sold for $5K more. Can you imagine what would have happened if they listed this house for $490 or $495? It would have probably had a lot of attention right away and it already sold. And here's the reality of the situation. I'm checking out the tax records. The person who owns this bought this in 1999 for like $190,000. So there's plenty of equity there. There's no reason why this house should have been listed for $480, $490, and just given a good chance to actually sell. So we've identified a very hot area. We've found a house that's overpriced. This is a great opportunity for you to try to lowball them, right? Try to get it for $480, $490. Try to go really punish the fact that they overpriced it. Now let's see if we can find something similar. Another strategy for you to find overpriced listings is, let's say we're looking at a different city. Let's look at, let's go across to the other side of town to Peoria. So most listing agreements that agents have with their sellers last about 6 months. How many days is that? 180? Is that right? 30 times 6, 18? Sure, 180 days. So if you look by days on market and you try to find houses that are like on days on market, like between 140 to 150, 160, like in that high range, odds are the listing is about to be expired. And the listing agent is probably not going to be able to renew with that seller. That seller's going to probably try to make it work. And the worst thing that happens is when they renew their listing with another agent, they probably price it a lot cheaper. In which, if they would have just reduced the price with the first agent, it would have sold right away. But maybe the agent's more has a better ability to present that information to the seller, or maybe the seller is just more stubborn, who knows. But either way, if you are looking by days on market and you find these examples, you have an opportunity to find an overpriced listing as well. But the difference is you'll have a listing agent probably needs the deal to close more than you need the house, and will do a little better job presenting your offer. So here we can see there's a big gap here. Why? Well, it's because 180 days is about 6 months, right? So odds are this gap is being caused because this isn't the first agent they list with. If it's over 200 days, most likely it is the second listing agent. That's why it's that. So we're going to try to focus under that 150 day range to get that sweet spot. So here we see one for 158 days. I guarantee you the listing agent for this house is contract's ending soon, and they want to get this house sold. They want to make it work. So here, this house is actually age restricted. It's only retirement community. So let's look at something else that's also age restricted. Let's look at something else. Here we have one that's an actual listing agent. 138 days on the market, was listed at 539. It's now listed for 525, and it has not sold. How has it been marketed? Well, first of all, this house looks like when I build houses on Minecraft, like, you know, they're always like blocky and like really square. Like that's how I build my houses. Then I'll see people like build like these amazing, like my wife and my son will play, and they'll just build these like amazing mansions, and I'm just like, nope, 4x4, dirt, wood. This reminds me of that. Not bad, but bro, can you just close the door when you're taking photos? Not bad. So it's probably it's that layout where you walk in and then there's the stairs and then living area, then kitchen, and then upstairs is like a big loft, or there's another bedroom. This looks like this has the loft. Yeah, this is a very standard layout here in Arizona. Yard is pretty decent, actually. Really cute backyard. Really nice backyard. Looks like they put a lot of money into it. So why hasn't it sold? Well, let's look at the value. So instead of focusing on a half-mile radius, we're actually going to just look up by the subdivision. So sometimes, you know, it's a little more particular than just half-mile radius. So let's do only that subdivision. Oh, come on, polygons, work with me. There you go. So only one house that has 3 beds. Let's kind of increase this a little bit. Let's do 2-bedroom. Square footage is 2,200 square feet. So let's do like 2,000 to 2,300 square feet. Let's do 2.5 bath, actually. See what pops up there. Oh, looks like the 2.5 bath is the separating factor there. So there's been 8 houses for sale, or have sold or pending. Now there's a lot of new builds that have been selling here, which is probably why it hasn't sold. But the only thing that I see that's comparable was a 1-story home that has a lot better curb appeal. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it sold for actually $520 cash. It was listed at $520, but it sold for $513 cash, and it sold within a day. And so that's there's nothing comparable, like nothing that looks exactly the same. But if this house that looks, in my opinion, a lot better than the 2-story home sold immediately for cash, that means there is a demand in this neighborhood. So I would price this house at $525. I'd probably price this like low 500s, and it'll probably sell right away. Now, if you look at the tax records, you get an idea of their equity position. They purchased this home in the late 2010s for half of the price it's currently listed at. So why are sellers, even though they have the equity, really trying to squeeze every dollar out? I don't blame them. It's every house, you get attached to it, you want more for it. But when it comes to real estate, okay, the time for greed is done. Let's not try to squeeze every top dollar out of these listings, okay? Let's spread the wealth around. You made a bunch of equity, congratulations. Let's reduce the list prices a bit much. Let's let buyers a chance now to buy in. Yeah, you're not gonna sell it for top dollar. You're not gonna be the best listing, the highest listing sold in your area, but those times are done. Let's let the property values decrease a little bit, and then they'll eventually start going back up again. And let's not be so greedy. So in this video, so basically there are 2 examples of overpriced listings. So in summary, look at days on markets. Make sure to try to identify if you can find those over 60, 90, 100 days listings, perfect. If you can find something that's closer to 150 days, they may be more unreasonable, but if they're closer to that 6-month mark, that listing agent might be a little more desperate to work with you. So even though the seller is not kind of stubborn, the listing agent might do something. I've had situations where listing agents like say, you know, well, give me the offer, we'll make it work. And then they end up like reducing their commission, which doesn't affect the buyer or me, it just affects them to get the offer accepted. So if you're struggling with your home search, and you're tired of looking at new listings or getting outbid, go check out the Overpriced listings. Trust me, you're not gonna regret it. If you're looking for an agent anywhere in the country, go to homeandagent.com/Javier. Get connected with an agent that doesn't suck butt. And of course, if you're not a subscriber or you're not a fan, please hit subscribe. We're all about helping first-time home buyers in this channel. So if you found anything helpful, leave it in the comment section below. If you have any tips or advice, please let any future first-time home buyers know. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. Love ya. Take care. Bless. Ciao.